Welcome, my name is Dean Harris and I'm going to be your instructor for History 102, the second class in the three-class Western Civilization History series. So three classes in this series. You're in 102 and you don't need to be worried about the fact that you may not have taken 101. Each class is set up as a kind of discrete, independent entity. So you don't need to know anything about what happened prior to 1300 CE to be successful in this class. As I said, there are three classes. Many students start off with 101. They are attracted to 101 because in 101 we cover kind of two great empires that grab the attention of a lot of people. That is the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire. We won't be talking about those two empires, but if you're intrigued by the history of those two empires, you might consider taking 101. 103 is the other class, the last class in the series. We begin basically with the end of the French Revolution, so approximately 1800, and takes us up to the present. A lot of students like that class because it's more familiar. There are more things in common between 1800 and today than there are between 1800 BCE and today. So, three classes in the series. 102 I think is actually my favorite class of the series. It's not quite as remote and different as, say, ancient Rome. On the other hand, it's a little bit different, which makes it intriguing, interesting, compared to, say, 100 years ago. But we moderns also like our revolutions. And 102 is basically the history of revolutions. So in this class, I will talk about the Renaissance, kind of revolution in mindset among Europeans, begin with Italians, who basically figured out or decided that the history of humanity was an important thing to consider, to learn about, to think about. One's life should not solely be focused on getting to heaven and trying to understand God's creation. We'll also talk about colonialism, primarily European colonialism of North America, South America, representing kind of a complete, kind of a revolution in geography prior to 1492. Basically, Europe knew about its own continent and Africa and Asia, and knew nothing about the Americas. And we'll also be studying the Reformation in this class, so that period of time, early 16th century, in which Christianity was split into two confessions, Catholicism and Protestantism. We'll also be talking about the scientific revolution in this class. Think about geocentrism, right? Geo, the Earth, right? That model of the solar system in which the Earth is at the center, was replaced by heliocentrism. Helio as in the sun, so a model of the solar system in which the sun is at the center. And of course you're familiar with names like Galileo, Copernicus, those individuals. So we'll be talking about those individuals. We'll also be learning about the Enlightenment, that 18th century kind of intellectual revolution. Very important ideas not only arise during this period, but are operationalized, are applied. So ideas such as a tripart government or checks and balances, those sorts of ideas that lay at the foundation of America's government, really kind of invented during this period. And America's founders and others embraced those sorts of ideas and operationalized them in the American government. And then we'll end the class with the French Revolution, which wasn't just a political revolution, but was a cultural revolution as well, too, such that time was redefined. For those of you who don't like the metric system, well, you should be happy that you didn't live in France at the end of the 18th century, because they changed time in accordance with a metric system. But we'll learn more about that at the end of the term. A couple of things about me. Dean, I already introduced myself. I teach primarily the Western Civ series here at COCC, online in the classroom. Sometimes I teach other classes. I teach in the political science class, world religions class. Tom Berry, who teaches in sociology, he and I sometimes teach in American culture and American music class. And if that's in the plan sometime in the future, we'll typically post information about that to students. So if that's something that interests you, I'll let you know next time a class is scheduled. Tom and I also are co-hosts on the radio. He and I have a radio program called Pop Excavations on KPOV, which is the High Deserts Community Radio, found at 88.9 on the FM dial. We talk about American music and American culture. Kind of a fun outlet for a sociologist, as Tom is, and a historian, as I am. So a couple of things about the structure of this class. This is a highly structured class, somewhat repetitive, but of course the great thing about repetitiveness is its predictability. So we'll talk about that in just a second. One thing to know for this class is that weeks run from Sunday through Saturday. So the first time an assignment might be due would be Sunday, and the last time an assignment might be due is on Saturday. So for week 1, of course, Sunday the 29th, well, of course, class hasn't started yet, but let me just say, Sunday is day 1, Saturday is day 7. So there's basically 2 kinds of weeks that I have in this class. There are discussion weeks and there are research weeks. So in discussion weeks, the primary assignments are participation in 2 discussion threads. Now for week 1, there is a 3rd discussion thread, which is an introduction discussion thread, but subsequent weeks, there are just 2 discussion threads. And the idea is one of them is due on Wednesday, the other is due on Friday, and you are to post an initial reply to each of those threads and then reply to a peer. So that's a discussion week. For the research weeks, there is no discussion threads, there's just a paper that you write. Usually 1 to 2 page paper on some sort of historical sort of topic. So those 2 weeks alternate. So week 1 is a discussion week, week 2 research week, week 3 discussion week, week 4 research week, and they go back and forth like that. One commonality to all weeks is the weekly quiz. We will read a chapter a week, beginning with chapter 10, this week 1. And so there's a weekly quiz, and I would encourage you to take the quiz as you read the chapter. So to kind of review, so week 1 is a discussion week, so there will be the 2 discussion threads plus the quiz. And then week 2 is a research week, and there will be the quiz and the research paper to write. For this week, week 1, I'm going to leave on Blackboard the links to weeks 2 through the final. And I haven't set that up, set all the dates and various other sorts of tweaks for this term, but if you click on each of the weeks, you'll see what the assignments are in case you want to kind of get a better idea of some of the writing assignments and some of the discussions that you'll be participating in. You can do that for this week. And then beginning with week 2, I will hide all of those and just show you 1 week at a time. Let's see, there's also a midterm in this class. Midterm in quotation marks. It actually comes during week 7. And I'll explain why that at a later date. The midterm is worth 30 points. And then there's a final, of course, due at the final. So all told, there are about 510 points in this class, and basically a quarter of that the papers, a quarter of that the quizzes, a quarter of that the discussion threads, and a quarter the final, and then the midterm. Do take a look at the syllabus. If you look over in the left hand of the classroom, you'll find links to various documents and informationals. So you'll find the syllabus there. You'll find the plagiarism policy, the late policy. You'll find a course calendar on there. I do encourage you to use the course calendar. Provide you due dates for all the assignments. So, the beginning of week, click open the course calendar and find out when the due dates are for the various assignments. There's some tips about discussion boards and other sorts of things over there. So do take some time to look through those and also look at the syllabus as well too. If you have questions for me, I do encourage you to email me rather than calling me. I'm on my email every day, usually checking a couple times a day. So I'm pretty good about responding to you within 12 hours, if not 12 hours, then 24 hours. There's also in the discussion board a course question thread. So if you have a question, the answer to which you think your peers might benefit from, I encourage you to post to that thread. Last thing, the attendance policy. So this is an online class, not a on-the-ground, face-to-face class, but both sorts of classes have an attendance policy. If this were a face-to-face class, the attendance policy would be that you have to attend all the week 1 classes to keep your seat for week 2. So for an online class, the instructor sets up what the attendance policy is, and you'll see that described at the week 1 link, but I'll let you know what it is here. Basically, you have through Thursday to submit the initial replies to the 3 discussion threads, plus complete the quiz. All right. So please check out the week 1 requirements. All right. Find out what you need to complete by Thursday. All right. And get those things done if you want to keep your seat. Because what I'll do is Friday morning, I'll go into the classroom, see who hasn't completed all those requirements, and I will administratively drop you. So I think that's about it. Hope you enjoy week 1 and the class. See you soon.